they say. I know what our public health is saying, but actually she's an international health analyst, so she knows.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right, everybody, we are officially recording.
Yes.
Welcome and good morning to the Joint Animal Commission's retreat. Hopefully we have 4 hours to get a lot of work done. Hopefully that we can be productive. If you have any questions, we have built in some breaks. But of course, as needed, if you need to get anything, all that, please feel free. I'd like to introduce Diane, who is the co-founder and CEO of Humane Network, a consulting service out of Nevada. I sent you guys their bios for her and her, I apologize, I forget her name.
Oh, Bonnie.
Bonnie, thank you, who are the co-founders of Humane Network. So with that, I will hand it over to Diane and we can get started.
Oh, well, thank you so much for having me. I'll probably be up and down here and during the process, but I did want to give you a little more background on myself so that you just know what my experiences are. So I've been in this field for 20-something years. I came from the corporate America world, kind of one of those people. It was typical in our field where you want to start doing something you think makes a bigger difference and made the shift. But I started at Best Friends in Southern Utah and then ended up down in New Orleans after Katrina and ran a cat rescue camp after like a makeshift camp for trying to help the cats that had survived the storm there. And then I ended up in Reno, which is where I live now, but I went there to work at Nevada Humane Society. So Bonnie Brown and I took over that particular facility and made it into a, well, back then we called it no kill. I don't really use that term much, but the concept of it was that no animals were putting down for time or space, basically. And we were successful with that at our shelter. And as I was mentioning to Andrew, we were in the same building with the county facility. So we actually ended up taking all the animals from them too, so that the whole county would be at that level of life saving, which they still are today. So 2000, what was it, 13, left there. Bonnie and I had formed Humane Network because we really wanted to help other shelters and communities do some of the things that we had done and maybe do it with a little less pain than what we sometimes had to go through. I felt like it was a lot of trial and error in those days, and I'm sure you could attest to this. There just wasn't a lot of resources, or at least it wasn't easily accessible. So that's why we started the consulting work, and we've been working with groups all over the country. Just a little side note, which isn't necessarily totally related to what you all do, that about 6 months ago, we actually opened, well, you will like this, but we opened up a clinic in Reno. It's a part of our nonprofit organization called Options Veterinary Care, and it's to provide services for people who we have a lot of that can't afford anything else. And it's been welcomed by the community, and we have no shortage of clients, but it's been a totally different track for us. So we've been working on that, and it's been exciting. So that's my history. I totally get the shelter world that these, not only get it, I've lived it. And just really think it's great that y'all are here together and wanting to move forward. And I think I love the idea of the joint effort. And it's something in Reno that the two cities joined with the county back in the early, when was that, early 2000s to build a facility together and combine all the animal services. So they did something similar, but they didn't have a commission to oversee it like this, which I think is great. So any questions for me before we get into the thick of it? All right, so I think everybody has a name tag. Now, if you could just, sort of turn them towards me, because I assume you all know each other, but I may not easily remember names if I'm not looking at it, so I appreciate that. So you have a few things on the table in front of you. One is an agenda, and I believe Sarah also sent that out. All right, so just kind of a high level agenda, and she mentioned we built in several mini breaks so people can get up and move and check their phones or get something to eat or run to the restroom. I assume the restrooms are, everybody knows where they
Right
are.
down that way or
Okay,
that this way.
okay,
We have two options.
okay, great. What we want to do is to, well, I'm gonna let Sarah do this. I shouldn't say we, give an overview of the community's needs. Thought that would be obviously a great place to start. I'm sure you all have some feel for that, if not a large feel for that, but just keeping it top of mind is obviously that's what this is about. And then we'll do a SWOT analysis. Anybody in here never done a SWOT analysis? Okay, it's kind of standard process, but I also think it's good, even if you've done it before, even for this particular group to, because things change, obviously. And we'll do that as a little background into actually developing some high level strategic goals. You all have a mission, vision, and I'm sure what you call goals, I mean, you call something else. What do you call them?
Yeah, our goals are equivalent to like a mission, vision, and values, like
Yeah.
the goals kind of match what our values are
Right,
as
and
well,
they're-
so.
So what I wanted to help you all do is to develop some real specific, measurable strategic goals that are gonna be long-term. And then take that another step down and develop some specific objectives for each of those goals for the next year. I understand, well, maybe not last year, but normally you have this annually. And that you'd be able to review those again at your next one in a year. And then the last piece of it is to look at, in the SWOT analysis, we'll be looking at some the weaknesses and threats. And those can be translated into specific barriers that you might face in trying to implement some of these or attain some of these goals and objectives. So the last piece where it says barriers is what can you all do, or what can you, even if you can't do personally, but what do you have the responsibility or the oversight of to be able to help remove some of those barriers and help this, the process move more smoothly, and obviously to ultimately, achieve the goals that you've defined. So, any questions on that? Okay.
Well, as we've talked about previously, this is hopefully to set a 5-year strategic plan with some easier, smaller goals for each year to meet the overall 5-year strategic plan. Some things to think about when we're looking at this, we talk about the community's needs, and that the community's needs are ever changing. And so, I think that the pandemic really showed that. It kind of, implemented if there was any issues, any concerns, those were really brought to light. And so I think a lot of the things that we see in terms of the shelter is a lot more community resource based than actual sheltering. Now, while the actual need of sheltering is still important because we have to be able to house sick and injured and homeless animals, there also is a component that I feel has been missing from the shelter, and that is the community component. When our staff is talking to people who are surrendering their pets, needs are such as they can't afford to take care of it. They can't afford medical care. There is a behavior issue that they are unsure of how to fix, or perhaps can't afford to fix. There is, I think we would be remiss if we didn't mention the fact that the eviction moratorium will soon be ending. And you are going to have a lot of people who had not, have housing through the pandemic are going to have issue with housing soon. And what that means too is that their pets are going to have issues with housing. It is not the easiest thing for people to find housing that allows pets and all types of pets. There's limits, pet deposits, all of that are barriers. I mean, I can attest when I first got here pre-pandemic, some of the places we were looking at wanted $1,000 per pet for a pet deposit, that a good chunk of it was non-refundable. And so that's not really, while they consider it pet-friendly housing, I don't consider that pet-friendly housing. So while we're having these conversations today, you know, I do want everybody to be thinking about this. How can we provide resources for the furry and feathered portion of the family? How can we keep families together? How can we move the shelter forward to be a community resource, to be the place that everybody comes to when they want help? You know, I want to think in terms of we've been involving the field department so that we're not a punishment-based organization. Even internally, the staff wants to be a community-based organization that is providing resources, that is providing information, that's helping people whenever they can. And the officers are the first ones to tell you that they want to be a part of that. They want to be a part of community events. They want to be talking to people. And really being out in the public as a resource. So I think I would be remiss if I didn't mention what the staff wants as well. And they want to be able to help people, to be able to not turn, you know, somebody away that needs something or redirect them if at all possible. You know, we have great organizations like Thurston County Humane Society that are doing their part. We have Concern for Animals that are doing their part, and some smaller organizations. So it might also be beneficial for the entire region if we look at ways that we can partner together. You know, if we can partner with SNAP, with Thurston County,